And we're back with the PPC community broadcast. It's me, Merlo, with me, Fawn, the legend, the man. I'm gonna
Okay,
go
okay.
with chair two. you know,
Okay,
it's
I'm a
right
big
there.
fan of
It's right there in the title.
that.
What a quick one!
Yeah.
What a disastrous one. Also, Androx couldn't do it,
Yes.
all by himself. But crazy games for sure. A little bit expected, of course. But what do you specifically expect for the next game? Because we know Pickle Peppers, they're incredible right now. They're
Right.
on top of the charts.
Yeah, Snapping and Pickle Pepper, that's an interesting one to be able to watch unfold, if anything, because of the fact that you got Pickle Pepper that's at the top of the seed right now. They are number one, with Snapping being a little bit below them. They're in third place in terms of the standings right now. But the biggest thing to keep in mind is that there was a roster change on one of the teams, I believe. And I believe one of those teams was, I have to pull up my notes or look at my notes real quick. It's Snapping. Snapping was the one that swapped out one of their team members for Penguin. And with that being the case, that could be a very, very huge turn of events for how this team is going to be looked at, if anything, because of the fact, purely based off of the fact that Penguin is such a strong player. And we've seen him pop off time and time again. Adding him to a roster like Snappin, that's pretty huge for them.
You think it's gonna basically counterweight the balance, and maybe we could see some action, from Snap. Maybe we could see some wins, going on. I definitely think so. But what about you?
So what the thing is that when you have Pickle Pepper and when you have Snap in both of these two teams, you have people that have been recognized last year in the PML or the PPL or even the PCL, where you had the console league being brought out as well, right? So you have these situations where it's going to be a sort of back and forth. Maybe beforehand, I mean, Snapper was already a force to be reckoned with. Granted, they were already third seed before you even had the roster change. So with that being the case, you can't help but give them credit here. I think that Penguin brings something to the team that they didn't necessarily lack, but I think it builds up on top of an already good foundation. Same thing for Pickle Pepper. They're the ones at the top of the list. Even though they don't have those roster changes, you have them going to map one, which is Jaguar Falls for Picks and Pans.
Well, I think we're ready for Picks and Pans right now. We know, of course, that the first two maps that were banned was Warden and Fish. Market on the other side for Snap, they banned Bazaar and Shattered. What are we going to see from these bans? What do you think they're going to try to pull off right now?
Okay, well, I mean, it's pretty much some of the usual suspects that we see in Paladins every now and again. We might see the Vivian find its way to the ban column. I mean, you have the Rom, and of course, I mean, Shaolin, depending on who is playing that Shaolin, who might be piloting it. I've seen Penguin Shaolin before. It's a little bit scary, so I can respect them getting rid of that on the side of Pickle Pepper. And there's Vivian. You have her banned in the ban column right now, one of the more prominent DPSs we've seen consistently throughout this season, or I should say specifically this patch, the Radiant Stars patch, on the side of many teams finding her into the ban column. But Bomb King is going to be on the side of Pickle Pepper. It's going to be their last ban, as well as Victor.
And basically, when you ban Vivian and Victor, what DPS you can fall off to? Because we know Jaguar Falls, of course, is a very standard map. And in general, like, you have so many ways to actually shoot across the map, if on the left side, right side, or whatever. First pick is going to be Torwald with that bubble. That's pretty interesting right now.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, Torvald is not someone we see in first pick territory, really, ever, as far as I can remember, as far as the season has been going, right? I mean, we've seen Inara be first pick, we've seen Ash, we've seen them want to lock in a lot of those off tanks, sometimes Rom, sometimes Ash. Typically, we'll see Ash being picked over the Rom, because I made way Rom's not a sitting duck. He's not going to be countered very easily. Most people won't lock him in unless a little bit later, but the Leafs opened a lot of the usual suspects that find their way to the ban column. We got Genos and Terminus on the side of Snap It already. So that's not only a good look for them, but you have the damage potential to go a triple DPS comp on the side of Snap It if you wanted to.
Indeed. Now we have Rom unlocked. That means that basically they need to pick up Grover, and they need to pick it fast. But also, Corvus is still available on both sides if Snap wants to run, a mark composition or something. But yeah, in general, right now, pretty solid picks. I think Torvalds finds its space in Jaguar Falls itself, because, of course, you can still do those kills, outside the map. You can still get those environmental kills with his ultimate. And you still have a lot of potential, when you're defending against the enemy team. You have that high ground. You can basically find so many opportunities. But of course, Grover, as I said before, going to go for Pickle Pepper. And on the other side, Antrox is, of course, is super free right now with Zin. That's a very aggressive composition from Snap.
And that's exactly what they want, right? I mean, they locked in the Genos first. They had one of those pocket picks, and this might be one of the times I have seen Corvus not picked up here at all. But I believe Pickle Pepper have a plan here because we have the Lex. This is a very interesting strategy because we've seen this be brought out before last year. Everyone that's watching right now, think back to the time of the PPL where we had ninjas in pajamas playing. You had a Tenor being a thing, right? You had Tenor and you had Bonker that would play the Torvald. That was something that we saw so consistently time and time again on Bright Marsh. Whether it won or not, that only time will have been able to tell, right? I mean, they won sometimes, they lost sometimes, but it's something Pickle Pepper feel confident enough in. Snapping is going to lock in Atlas at the very last point in time here, though. And that's going to be very good to counter out a lot of that aggression that they have on the side of Pickle Pepper, just in the form of Rom.
I don't see Lex picked very often because, of course, you have so many others flank that they use that verticality. We saw Eevee a bunch of times today, but also last week. But I think we're gonna see if he's gonna pull it through in this next game because I think we're ready to go. What about those cards? What about those talents? What's going to happen?
I mean, you have the Deep Roots, you have Thanks Grandpa, and you have a lot of other standard talents that are picked pretty consistently. You have Discovery, something that's been seen a lot instead of Death Hastens on Lex. Having that sort of single target damage means that you'll get bursted a lot by Lex if you aren't too careful. Does a little bit more damage to you and also receives a lot more in the back pocket in terms of credits here, but 50%, he's running the Hunted 5, so whoever it is that he might end up dueling here, they have their work cut out for them, if anything. In terms of items, nothing really too interesting stands out to me right now either. I mean, you have the Haven on Turbinus, you don't want to go down too early, and you want to make sure you have plenty of time to live on the point.
Indeed, and right now we're going to see a whole damn puck tap inside the building, and let's watch out what's going to happen with this first blood. Right now, the aggression onto that roam right now is in, of course, taking the first kill onto the other side. We're going to see if Lex finds a little bit of an opening to actually get the kill, and there you go. He's going to go with a double right now, taking also Genos, and that's going to be huge for them because right now, there's the triple kill. That's huge for them.
Oh, okay, and Pain already with the quadra to start things off. Okay, man, I see you right now. You got the Discovery being a huge thing here, if anything. That's what I wanted to highlight in the very beginning. The talent choice is what needs to be highlighted right there. It's purely based off of the fact that he has a lot of that 1v1 potential. He's got 50% lifesteal as well. With that being the case, that means, like I said, a lot of those duels are not going to go in your favor how you might want them to. Same way for Wonderful if he ever tries to escape once again, but Emmett Payne plugging in so much damage to so many of these different targets.
Indeed, it's gonna be relentless right now, shut down a little bit, but of course they got 81% onto that point. They just need to regroup and reload because right now they did an amazing job, and Terminus is gonna fall down pretty easily. Atlas needs to switch a little bit of gears and give him a little bit of a breather because, yeah, it's gonna be hard for them right now. Kills are coming left and right. Of course, Rom still onto the point pretty easily. Atlas is trying to get in, but it's not gonna make it. Zin still has the ultimate if he wants to pop it. Oh, right now, the deflect against that stun, but I think this one is gonna go to Pickle Peppers because right now they just got the point, they have the push, they have all that potential, and Lex is doing tons of damage.
Yeah, Snappin aren't going to really be able to find their way onto the objective very easily. Sure, they cause the overtime, but at the end of the day, that you have that Deep Roots that caught that Androxus in his tracks, force out the reversal a little bit early, so that means he had less time to contest on the objective for his team. So that just means that he's going to go down a lot quicker than they may have wanted him to on the side of Snappin. But in the long run here, I mean, you have Rom running right on up. And this is very interesting for me to see this. Can I see KDAs for a second real quick, Kresnik, if you don't mind? And he's at only 2-2. And would that be the case? Okay, Kresnik, I understand. I heard you whisper in my ear for a second. I made that mistake once again for the second time. But it's okay. Wonderful has only died twice, surprisingly. And that's what's surprising to me, is the fact that he's only died twice. He's playing Rom. You have characters on the side of Snappin that are already extremely powerful, very good at countering Rom, and he's only died twice, but he's been so aggressive in the back line.
Of course, because you have Void Grip, coming up from Genos, and right now they're gonna have a little bit of a problem because they're not able to push until they take at least one kill. Lex probably is gonna unlock the situation because right now he's pretty much bubbled up. He's ready to go. He has the mark on himself and the mark onto the enemy. Right now, kills are coming left and right, but actually Terminus got the first one onto the ROM, so they are having a lot of problems right now to actually do that push and commit as much as they can.
Already, you have a minute still remaining for him, and you have Skeppy playing here by secret the entire time, holding it down for anyone that might try and flank, and that's why you have the Androxus that goes down here in this scenario. Deep Roots caught so many people out in that play. Just buy them on the side, trying to reach you, or trying to find some sort of way to escape. That Deep Roots kept them from moving, and it cemented them the kills they needed, and an even better retake, and an even better zone.
Indeed, and now they're ready to push. 40 seconds to spare. It's not that much, to be honest, but they're all packed up once again. And Lex is going to try to push as much as possible with that ROM. They have the opportunity to actually get a couple of kills, and Torvald, of course, makes this Lex unbeatable. Like, he has so much shielding, he has so much damage. It's really hard to counter because, as you said before, basically, he's the best at 1v1s, right? But when you have a shield from Torvald, now it's 2v1 because basically you cannot kill him, you cannot do that trade, and he also heals himself. So as you can see right now, those kills are coming, they're pushing fast, they're pushing through, and they have no way to respond to that damage.
They just don't have an answer. That's just what it came down to towards the end. They don't have any sort of way to fight back against what Pickled Pepper have delivered right now, which is a lot of this aggression. They have the Torvald bubble on a mid pane. Not only that, Skeppy's pretty much holding down these long sight lines by himself. Anytime there was a flank, like for example what we saw with Stigma, picked off instantly. They didn't really have a way of sort of fighting back against that. They didn't put a lot of pressure on him. And in the same run of things, Lex's top damage, which is not surprising to me personally, because not only did we see him get the quadra kill in the beginning, that's what Discovery does. That's what you just highlighted as well. It's the fact that he's going to win these 1v1s. You can't really fight against him either, so you sort of just have to dedicate a lot of resources to him, because if you let him go rampant, if you leave him alone and let the rest of his team force all these fights, you can bet that he's going to come around and clean up most, if not all, of these kills on the side of Pickled Pepper.
And don't forget that also, if you use all those resources and that focus inside that Lex, of course, onto the other side, you still have Strix that can basically pick up kills as fast as he can on a long distance. So you need to basically put everything you got and throw as many bodies as you can. Terminus, I think, is a really good answer right now. He can absorb most of Lex's damage, but you need to follow up. You need to follow through. And right now, they're going to take another kill right now. Snap looking good, looking great, but there's still plenty of time to go, and we still have lots of resources, lots of ultimate that can be spent. Androxus went a little bit too deep right there, and I think this is gonna be it. That's the signal to actually go in and strike. Yeah, front time and space is a little bit wasted, but what do you think is gonna happen right now?
Well, it seems like for the most part, everyone's sort of getting huddled into this area by statue. It seems like they're going to have to deal with a lot of more aggression here on the side of Pickled Pepper, especially when you have Lex going to push in exactly like we've seen him do before. You have the reanimate being utilized here, but in the long run, it's not really going to matter too much as the trades are coming out one for one.
Indeed, right now Lex finally shut down. They still have a possibility. They just need to jump onto that point. We got 89% for Snap, and let's see what's going to happen against that ROM. Right now, they're trading back and forth. ROM against Terminus right now, trying to do a couple of kills. Atlas, of course, supporting well enough onto the side, and the objective is captured from Snap. And right now, pretty good for them. Let's see what's going to happen against that high ground.
It seems like for the most part, they're going to try and find some sort of way to push up by stairs, but it seems like for the most part, they aren't really going to be able to do much of that, as really Wonderful's just had so much control this entire time. I really am so shocked by this ROM pretty much going uncontested. You have a situation where Terminus has to back up. Sure, he had a lot of damage beforehand, but even still, Wonderful, where is he positioned in a more aggressive spot? Right next to Term, right next to Zen at that. And that's pretty huge, especially when you feel like you have no fear against so many different counters. They've drafted to make sure that Rom has a hard time getting to the back line. And yet here he is. And if you don't mind, once again, Chris, could I ask for the KDs? Because I really am curious about this one. He's only died 5 times. This is not a typical Rom game that you would see. Of course, it's wonderful. He's going to be playing well. He's played with some of the big ones before. But in the long run, it still comes down to having a lot of these harsh counters. And he is playing this and executing it so well.
As you said before, though, of course, if you're focusing so hard onto that Lex, you don't have time to actually focus on Rom because you're trying to stop him. Even if you're a Genos right now, look at him. Like, he's unstoppable, he's uncontested. And this push, I think, is pretty much over. They have no possibility of going in. Actually, they're backing up. 60 seconds. Yes, it's a minute. It's a long time to go. But yeah, you do not have the possibility to do that. Look at the Rom still surviving behind the enemy lines. 4v1. Incredible.
Yeah, he's just trying to divulge attention into him right now, if anything. He's just trying to make sure that everybody looks at him, pays attention more so to what he's doing in the back line and trying to set up for his team to push in on all sorts of flanks right now. But for the most part, him going down a little bit earlier than they were able to actually regroup on, it's not going to be in favor for them. So they're going to have to back up, and that's what we're seeing right now. They just have to hold their ground. They're not really moving very easily, but they forfeited so much space over by stairs. They are in such a good spot, and wonderful. He has to answer this.
Indeed, they're gonna be moving right now, as we say. But remember, Torvald still has the ultimate. So right now, onto the last stretch, onto that last angle, if it takes it correctly, it can basically wipe out an entire team. Of course, Snapping taking a couple of kills right now. That's pretty huge. That's pretty good right there. But you still have the ROM online. You still have plenty of time to spare because 2 seconds to go, and the Lex is gonna be back up again. And what we're gonna witness is gonna be a huge team fight, probably. Right now, it's spreading across the entire payload, and let's see what's going to happen against Rom. He still has the ultimate, he still has the capabilities of doing tons of CC onto the other side, and Rux is not really picking any kills. The kills comes with the fruit time and space. Onto the other side right now, they're trying to push as much as possible. They're still trading evenly, and Lex does not have an opening to actually go in and snap the enemy team. Torvald still trying to stand there. Off to the other time, Zin is going to be the next kill to go against Lex. And Lex, of course, is sliding left and right, trying to do as much damage as possible onto that tank. Of course, he's going to pop the overtime, but it's already over. It's already a successful defense from Pickled Pepper, and I think that was pretty much a great way to defend that point.
I agree as well. I mean, they really had a lot of things going for them during that fight. I mean, you had situations where Pickled Pepper, sure, they were able to funnel directly on the point. Sure, it was looking a little bit rough for them. Wonderful had his entire health bar chunked thanks to Androx's reversal. Very well timed by Stigma, and of course he went down. You had a few members that were picked here and there on the contest, but they were just able to live long enough to where when they die, they would have more people just really pushing on the point, one after the other, and it just made it that much more prominent for them to be able to contest time and time again without losing any ground, without allowing Snappin to convert that point. So with that being the case, now Snappin are the ones being pressured here. It's 3-1. If they let Pickled Pepper cap here, it's going to be a rough one.
Snap right now is going to try as much as they can. It's going to be super hard for them, but let's see if actually we're going to see some plays from Andarax. Right now, not performing super well, and Lex is going to be shut down. They're using every CC, every resource they have to actually get those early kills, get the early point. They're going to, right now, control and contest again the enemy team. Oh, and Andraxis is going to be the next one to go. That's huge for them. That was not going to happen, and that did happen. That's too bad for them.
Yeah, I agree with that in its entirety. I mean, it's the fact that Androxis was being pushed out a little bit too far. He was staring down those sight lines against his Strix, which Lord only knows why you're doing that, and you see he gets punished for it respectively. He's going to get picked off, and because of that, that now means that Pickled Pepper have an easier time making their way onto point, but doesn't mean they've cemented their lead on the point, because of course you see Snappin pretty much in control for most of the time that was going on. You had people that were a little bit scattered. They were going to point, they were trying to contest because of the fact that Snappin was still gaining percentages. When they went there, they had people that were picked off, and now they have to use the Whirlwind to see if they can cause the overtime for a little bit longer. Now their tanks have made it back, it's only a matter of time before we see who this point will go towards.
Indeed, of course, they used everything in their power to actually get onto that point. The positioning right now looks pretty smooth, coming from Pickled Pepper, but of course, Rom right now, a little bit of a pickle himself, getting shot down. They're still trading kills left and right. It's pretty much spread evenly, but the problem is that Grover is going to go down, and right now, that's another point ready for them. Androxus, like, shutting me down, because of course right now he's picking back the pace, taking that triple kill that will unlock the situation. And as you said before, I'm 100%, you're 100% correct. The fact that right now, Snappin', they just basically shift the full focus onto their legs. Pickled Peppers is not making any kills right now.
Yeah, they haven't really found their footing here, which is weird to say because they've been have been the ones that control this entire set so far. They've been showing it. The score was 3-1, but Snappin' almost clapping back instantly. It's a 3-2 right now with the point just having been captured. The card's already so far up, but they got a little bit too overzealous here. Too much aggression means that you're going to have a situation like this where when you push up, you're going to get taken out almost instantly. Too many people were grouped up. You had too many people that were really just flooding in by stairs. Of course, you had the cart still rolling right on by, but too many people were playing to the right side. Made it hard for them to try and get past the defense that Pickled Pepper had. And because of that, you have deep root bounces all over the place. You have discovery, or aka retribution damage, is going to be coming through, making it hard for really them to stand anywhere, especially when you have Lex focusing down those single targets. So you have to position yourself a little bit better in that case. You saw so many people huddled around each other that it made it hard for them to push into the site.
Indeed, and now we're going to see Rom actually charging back into the back line. Nothing happened really. They have so much control for him, but he spaced them out a little bit. They're coming onto the left side. The shield is going to go down from Atlas, so that's another kill onto the Zin from this Lex. And as we said before, we never mentioned, of course we're seeing so much damage from Lex. Of course we're seeing the edge auto heal, etc. But the other thing that we're not really realizing yet, he's getting a lot of extra credit. Like, he's making bank right now. And that's going to be huge, of course, on to the last point, because you have so much advantage in equipment that you're basically are stomping constantly onto the enemy. And you're able to do crazy things that otherwise you wouldn't do.
Yeah, and even with Discovery, I'm surprised that Lex has less net worth than Genos overall, but that just goes to show how much he's playing a huge role into a lot of these different team fights, how much he's actually bringing to the table here, not only through his healing, but even maybe a little bit through the damage it is that he's doing. Mostly through the healing, of course, because depending on what role you're playing, you'll get more credits accommodated to you, depending on how effectively you are playing that role, but that's neither here nor there. Because the fact that they're really just trying to find a way in on the side of Snappin'. They've caused overtime, but no one's really been able to sort of find their ground here. Everyone's been sort of scrambling to find the first sort of pick, and that might be it, especially if Atlas finds that kill.
I think that unlocks it right now. That's going to be it. But of course, the kills are coming through. But nobody was touching onto the payload. There was no tank available, and they just lost it. But then again, of course, good for Snappin', because they needed that point. Of course, you're not going to spend your resources on a push like that, because you need to control this next round. Yeah, so they did all in their power. They played it, they played it well, pretty consistently, I might say. But what's going to happen now? What's going to be the next big thing from Pickled Pepper? Because right now, Lex is dying way too often.
Well, the thing is that I would say here that Snappin' have done pretty well last round in terms of submitting not only the mid control that they have over the objective, but also making sure that these fights that they had are sort of spread out. They're keeping them from getting to the point. Sure, they're not killing them most of the time, but even at the same time, last round, we had a situation where, sure, they weren't killing them immediately, but just pumping enough damage into somebody makes them want to reconsider whether they want to go to that point immediately or not, right? So that's what it seems like they want to try and play with right now, especially when you have the ROM being so close and they actually wasted the time and space to try and see if they can get that pick.
Let's see right now. Of course, Lex is frozen in time and is going to get killed pretty easily from Androx's optimal setup. There's the respawn right now, but Snappin' taking all those kills right now. There's no way they can actually counter this Terminus, and Rom is going to be all alone by himself. Look at that CC. That's a huge amount of CC. And then Androxus, of course, he has verticality, so it's going to be really easy to pop off those mounts. 75% to go. That's too late. After just 4 kills, they're not able to recover, and it's going to be played all on this point, onto this final stretch. Androx is popping his ultimate, trying to get a little bit of pressure, a little bit of a kill. It's going to be very easy with Androxus and Terminus in combination, but yeah, we just need to wait and see.
Yeah, only time will be able to tell, my friend. Only time will be able to tell. I do like how Atlas used that exile before they end up capturing the point, making sure he locked down Emmett Payne. Emmett Payne was already low. He was locking him down, making sure that he couldn't escape. He tried to use the exile on the Rom, but Rom, of course, used his ultimate to see if he can stop that. And of course he did, because you're CC immune when you use that ultimate. However, with that being the case, it forced out the Cataclysm, aka the Rom ultimate, that didn't follow through as effectively as it may have. Sure, he found the hits on a couple of people, but it didn't matter. You already locked down Emmett Payne. You got rid of him, and you were taking care and spreading out damage on different people on the side of Pickled Pepper. So when Rom was there, sure, he used the ultimate to counter out the exile of his own to see if he can try and turn the tides based off of that ult. But at the end of the day, it didn't really matter because they still got the pick, and they managed to pick off one of their most prominent damage dealers right now. And then Skeppy has to retreat because if Emmett Payne's not drawing eyes to him, then he can't free fire as effectively.
And situation hasn't changed at all. Of course, on defense right now, you have a Strix on long range. He's literally and virtually unkillable because he's so well covered. And of course, he can pop in and out from, his Clota. But as soon as I said that Xin actually took a couple of kills right there, we still have a couple seconds to go. 5 for Troller to actually respawn. The damage is going to go through. But yeah, we need to be very aware because right now, one ultimate from Rom can make all the difference. But of course, 47 seconds to go is not going to be much time, but they still have a pretty good stretch so far, so good. Let's see what's going to happen because right now, true time and space is being used. There's no kill. There's no point advantage right there. I think it's a little bit of a waste. But still, 29 seconds to go. Nothing is really happening. Both teams are playing super safe. And Strix, of course, takes the kill. Lex onto the other side, trying to do a little bit of a cleanup crew. And this is going to be pretty much it onto the snaps inside.
I mean, the minute they got rid of that Zen, I mean, they wanted to push as far forward as they possibly could. And it seems like not only is it working out for them, but it may have even submitted them the round. No one's really even mounted up to make it back to card. And all of that was off of the back of them fighting by secret. Fighting back by a little bit of that secret passage that is right there towards their spawn on the side of Pickled Pepper. And with that being the case, they used the spike to see if they can burn down Rom quick enough. Penguin ended up utilizing it. Of course, he found the hit, but he didn't find the kill. Emmett Payne was there. So was the rest of Pickled Pepper. A lot of the focus was by secret. Very little of it was on the objective. Of course, you had people standing on the point. Of course, you had people that could have caused overtime, caused a touch, whatever the case may have been, or continued even rolling the cart right on through. But when you fight all the way by secret and no one's really focusing as much on the cart, also 40 streak for Bones, by the way, that is almost unprecedented for the healer. 40 streak, I've seen 30, I've seen 35, but having a complete 40 streak on the Genos is very telling of how he has barely even died.
Indeed, like positioning is telling right now. And we're going to see what's going to happen inside the building. Of course, everybody has their ultimate ready to go. Rom is going to be all by himself. Onto the other side, we saw a little bit of a kill potential, but they're still not coming through. They need to wait onto that opening right now. Rom ravaging through the enemy backline. It still has the ultimate. Watch out. So everybody who is at low HP could be a potential kill, a potential, shutdown, because you have so much CC and so much potential. And there you go. He's roaming back again onto the back line. Terminus is down. Terminus respawn, of course. You have another tank at your disposal. Zen actually taking the kill onto the Lex, and it feels Neb finally did it, because right now, what do you have onto your defense? You just have a Strix, and Strix is not going to be able to do much. You have a Grover, yes, but his ultimate is on cooldown, so you cannot do anything about it.
There's not much that you can really do here. They do have time to be able to touch, if anything. I mean, Pickled Pepper can make their way back. That's why Rom's already positioned here on the side. They have to use the exile. Those what it sounds like they were revving up, but it doesn't seem like they'll be able to find much here. Wonderful did make it there. They actually find the Trey. They get the kill, and they not only find him, they find the healer as well on the side.
Gonna be huge. It's going to be super huge, and they're just going through the motion, getting those kills right now. They find the footing. That's a full-on sweep and reversal, and now it's pretty much over. Look at that Rom. He's going to pop everybody off. He's going to actually take a kill onto that Zin if he's not able to actually recollect onto the backline. Look at that Zin. Super risky right there, and they just left the Grover onto the backside. Pickled Pepper takes the victory, but at what cost? That was super close, my man. Way too closer than we expected.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's the difference between Snappin' and Pickle Pepper's draft. It didn't come down to the draft. Both teams played very well. Of course, we saw that go 3-3. We saw that go to the very last point. But the difference between Snappin's draft and Pickle Pepper's draft, when Pickle Pepper got the advantage here, they didn't have any percentage on the point. What happened? Wonderful ran all the way in and dismounted everybody. Why? Because he's Rom. He has plenty of bullets in that minigun, so he's going to let loose on anybody that he sees trying to leave spawn, and nobody can touch after that point. And with that being the case, that's all she wrote for Snapping. But of course, everyone did well on the way there. I mean, you have so many different people, even the tanks get a little bit of action in there. Over 100,000 on so many different people. And the KDAs are all just flooded right now. 16 and 6 for Skeppy. You have 13 and 17 for Stigma, sure, but you still have over 100,000 damage he was able to provide. You have 23 assists for Reincarnated, 36 assists for Bones, even 7 kills, even 7 last hits for the support, and you have 38 assists for Fiel. I mean, everyone on both teams was firing full cylinders. If anything, it made it hard for anyone on either team to really try and cement their lead here, especially in a situation where you keep fighting back and forth, trading kill for kill time and time again.
Indeed, we really came down to the last wire, to the last second, and we actually expected Snap to win this one because they had the setup, they had everything under control, but they did not control their left side, and that basically was it. Rom was able to actually go in onto the other side. Of course, Torvald had the possibility to touch the point, and do full contesting, and then you had the kill from Strix that basically unlocked everything. But yeah, it was super close. Never seen Pickle and such a pickle. They have been dominating the entire season, but right now they are really scared. That was super close. I think we're ready to go for the next map and the next pick and ban phase as soon as we can, and so it's going to be Ice Mines. Now Ice Mines, love that map. It's super stretchy. You can almost play those silly picks as Khan. I know Khan is way more used in NA, and here he will find his footing pretty well. But of course you can play blasters, you can play full flank, you can play almost anything. We even saw that troll composition. I'm saying troll because I don't find the right word when you basically use Sky and everybody gets healed onto the point.
Oh no, that's pretty troll. You're right. No, that's 100% troll. You're entirely right. You're right.
Everything and anything is actually possible, and we're gonna see the first 2 bans. It's gonna be Genos and Vivian coming up from Snappin' onto the other side, Tiberius, and that's a great ban because of course he basically can bounce on and off in those tight corridors. Terminus is gonna be the next one. So Inara, Khan, you have of course Genos, Maldamba still available. Bunch of picks that are super useful. Even Ash though.
Yeah, and the thing about this one is that you have Vivian and Genos on the ban column, Tiberius and Terminus, but you left open Corvus, so I wonder which team's going to get that. Snap and feel like they are the ones that have more control over the situation. If they lock in the Inara first, which can't really argue with that sort of logic. I mean, one of the strongest, if not the strongest point tank in the entire game right now, on the side of Snap and already being first pick. But you have Torvald and Victor once again. I'm interested to see how this Torvald is going to play in the coming weeks, purely based off of the fact that Torvald is sort of seeing a rise right now, or at least I'm saying that for today, because I've seen him picked here more than anywhere else. A lot of people are finding you and that sort of pocket potential more than just the healing, giving it an extra survivability, not just from refilling health bars, but making sure you give them an extra health bar that they have to dedicate an item to, that they have to burn through on the side of any opposing side that has to go up against Torvald. So that's a great look for them right now. I like what Pickle Pepper have for themselves.
Right now they have full on marks with Torvald and Corvus. That's going to be a bubble shield there, but you need a nice, well enough, of course, a flanker to actually put it off. And right now they chose Strix, they chose Victor, so they can even go for an off tank to help or a main tank to help Torvald going onto that point. So I wonder what's going to happen. I think everything is on Victor right now. Is just going to run guns blazing, try to get as much kills as possible. And onto the other side, you have Kinessa and Zin. Now, Kinessa, it's a little bit different than Strix. She has mobility, verticality, and a possibility, of course, of trying to defend herself in those tight spots, while as Strix, has invisibility. Rom is going to come through And really, this is the first time that I'm so conflicted because I don't know which composition is gonna be better at the end of the day. Because Ice Mines is super tricky as a map. You always go on 3-3 and on to the final match and on to the final point. That I'm really not sure right now.
Yeah, and that's a little bit weird to see Rom being locked in last when you have three people that can sort of counter Rom's
Hmm.
counter Rom's not only his advancements, but it's also his DR. His sprint is one of the most important tools that Rom has, and the fact that they have so many counters against it on the side of snapping, I don't know if that's a good choice.
I don't know, but we're ready to go into that round, into that game. Let's jump into Ice Mines. And yeah, of course they have CCA, they have control, but I even did that and had that into the last round that we just
Mhm.
saw. And Rom was pretty much able to run through, go into the backlight pretty much uncontested. So I think it's going to happen now, I think. But yeah, does I don't know. This ROM has been pretty solid so far, even tons of CSC against him.
This will be a hot match.
I agree with you, but I'm feeling a little bit weirder about this Rom pick on Ice Mines. Not because of the fact that he'll be able to get these dismounts. Sure, we've seen Wonderful's performance last time around, but you have a situation now where someone has to step on point to contest a Nara. Someone has to. It can't be Torvald, right? It has to be Rom, and that puts a lot of pressure on him to not only keep on the pressure literally like he does, like we know him so well for, but someone has to step onto the point. It's why he's not going to the point immediately. It's why Anara is also trying to push into their team, but this might be a little bit worse off for Snap and not Snap and Pickled Pepper right now, as they've already lost one.
Indeed, I don't know why Victor thought he could just go in. As I said before, yeah, guns are blazing, but with a little bit of reserve, of course. Because, of course, you have the bubble shield, you have Corvus, but it was not enough. Because with Burst, of course, you don't have that much, speed and fire rate to actually keep going on with the damage over and over and over. They're picking it up pretty fast from Pickled Peppers, but yeah, that was a little bit strange to witness. That was full-on crazy kamikaze right there.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure what they were going for there either, especially when you're playing a backliner like that and pushing forward ahead of all of your frontliner. I really should say your only frontliner here. Torvald is not going to be the one trying to contest on point, if anything, but them being able to find a pick might be huge. This is going to be pretty great for them, especially since this is Ice Mines. It's going to be polarizing. We said this so many times before. We sound like a broken record. All of the casters do, but that's just the reality of Ice Mines here. You get a kill or two, and it's going to be hard to make it back to point, especially when you get staggered out like that. And now the rest of Snap and the only two members remaining that were still from the previous fight have to back up.
And that's why people hate Ice Mines, because once you're done, it's so hard, of course, to defend that point, or just attack it, because as you said before, you just get pop-off mounts. There's a long stretch even before you get onto that point, and you can just contest it. And also, on the other side, as soon as you take the point, as soon as you have the payload, it's super hard to push, because it's a super long stretch. There's plenty of buildings onto the side that you can basically use for cover. And yeah, as if you have and you manage to keep the pressure up, as Pickled Pepper is doing right now, you're gonna be fine. But as you can see with Kinessa, there's always the risk of a very quick snipe, a very nice pick off, and you need to do that all over again.
Already, it seems like Rom is up here trying to see if he can contest on bridge. Everyone's sort of biding their time. The cart hasn't stopped rolling this entire time, but everyone's trying to cement themselves in the percentages here. It's why Rom pretty much just runs around, see if he can find the damage, and then backs off, right? They're trying to plug damage into different people, so that way it's easier for them on the push, as opposed to them having to do it in its entirety. But the cart's really rolling right on through, and ours not even really contesting here. Rom tosses the gun away and runs away, but they're still in control. Pickled Pepper feel like they're in the driver's seat here, and they look like they are too.
Yeah, but they're not pushing anymore. Why? Because right now they in desperate need for a kill. They're having so much problem actually pushing because, as you said before, Inara is not onto the payload, but she can just step off the building and just, contest it as much as she can. Right now, we're gonna see a little bit of a snipe from Corvus just to put the pressure onto that backline. It's not gonna be enough though, because Pickled Peppers already, they did not unlock the payload. They did not have their chance. Maybe now against the Inara, Victor takes that kill. Probably this is gonna be it if Atlas falls soon after, but they need to be very aware of that respawn timer and that Kinessa is just getting out-sniped by the Strix.
Yeah, and that's pretty much all she wrote for this round. I mean, Pickled Pepper, they have the lead here, and they have plenty of control towards the tail end of that. It just ended up being too much damage for Snap and the Bear. They couldn't hold on, especially Woodnot couldn't hold on, because that's who they're going to be depending on a lot for their not only their point capture, but for them to even contest. It's Inara, so she has to be the one that's going to be on the front lines here, both in a very, very literal sense. And because of her being up there, she was taking a lot of the brunt force that Pickled Pepper were able to deliver out. Because of that being the case, that means that she was going to end up going down eventually. Makes it a little bit hard to try and contest in a fight like that where you ate a lot of damage previously. And the matchup here, especially with the Stigma versus Skeppy sort of deal. I mean, we've seen Skeppy pull out the Strix a lot. We've seen Stigma. His Kinessa is very, very well known in the community. And both of these guys going back and forth, you would think that Torvald would be able to give a lot more percentage, a lot more pressure to Skeppy. And that's what it seems like it has done in the long run. A beautiful wall from Inara as well to start things off.
Yeah, indeed, that was huge for them because now they have 100% control. As you said before, Rom is forced to actually stay on point, but when you're going in like that and you don't have any support, a simple wall can cause so much problems, so many problems. But from that kill, nothing really came out of it because nobody is actually picking up the point, and Pickled Peppers, they're ready to go in and just start all over again. Like, nothing happened, basically.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused as well. I mean, they had a lot of the control on the side of Snap, and they even used the ultimate for it, but at the end of the day, Pickled Pepper are going to be the ones that walk away with more percentage in their pocket than Snappin', but of course it's not over yet. Everyone's still holding their angles, playing back if anything. You forced out a barrage from one of them, but in the long run, Snappin', they seem like they're more in control of the situation than ever before.
Right now, yeah, they're using that Eyeglass's full potential. They just got back with another kill from Kinessa against that Victor, and that's basically it. It's just that Torvald right now is so chunky and it takes a while to eliminate, but yeah, they unlock the situation. They just need to pop off those mounts, it's going to be pretty easy for them. And we're all going to see what's going to happen onto the defense side, because, of course, last time we saw, Inara trying to be, the full-on tank, trying to control and contest that point, but Kinessa did all the heavy lifting into deflecting the enemy team. Right now, it's going to be different because his Strix is going to be defending, and he has so many possibilities of reposition, and doing that burst damage out of stealth, that I wonder if he's going to pick off many, many kills and just try to slow this PL down. I think that's not going to happen because Sin just took another kill.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big, big, unfortunate event for Pickled Pepper here as they try and hold on the offense that Snap have, and they've just been losing a lot of these side trades. I mean, you have to worry about the sniper duel because once one of them goes down, that means there's a sniper just able to free fire on whoever they choose to target, and that's going to be an even harder choice for Rom to even have to make, whether he wants to try and let himself live or contest the objective. Eventually he's going to get to the point like this where he has to, and he doesn't really have much of a say in any of it, and he is rewinded, followed by the barrage as well. You got plenty of time to contest and to roll this one in, but at this long run, Pickled Pepper, they have so much control.
That barrage was a saving grace right there, because basically gave the time to Rom to respawn and actually get that health back out, behind the boxes. They also took a couple of pretty good kills right now, so I'm really tormented and confused because Snappin had a way easier run until now. They really need to pull those kills with Kinessa, but it's gonna be so hard because of course you have onto the other side bubble health over and over and over, and as you can see, Corvus is just buffing over and over and over that Victor, and yeah, it's gonna be immortal basically. Inara is going to control the right side, but is it going to be enough? She has an ultimate. She can do CC if she finds, the opportunity with her team to actually get a kill and push through. But yeah, it's just a stalemate.
Yeah, it's pretty much it's pretty much like you said, staled out if anything. I mean, no one's really able to push in. No one's really able to push them back, right? So Snappin' have to sort of try and find some sort of way to fight back against Pickled Pepper. For the most part, though, it seems like the sniper duels are going back and forth. No one's really found that pick unless you're the ROM. And with him being gone, that's an even easier time for Inara to roll the card in.
Indeed, they pushed this successfully, so it's going to be a 2-on-2. And yeah, that's the problem with Torvald, of course. If your main tank goes down, what you're gonna do. What are you going to be able to do? You're not gonna do anything. You're just gonna stand there getting picked off by, Knessa and all the others. So at this point in time, I'm still hoping for the last matchup because that Torvald is really going to shine. Of course, he has the ultimate, he has the possibility to basically bump that, outside the map and get those kills. So it's really comes down to the wire once again on a 3-on-3 and the last match point probably, because I don't think another push, another capture and payload push is going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if that will end up happening either, especially when you have to worry about the amount of control that really Pickled Pepper have been able to deliver. Same thing for Snapping though. I mean, they're showing they're not just going to take this one lying down, especially since they've tied things up at a 2-2. No one can really push, especially if you're a little bit worried about the Torvald ultimate. No one can really push here through danger either, so they're going to leave that one to be contested. If anything, a Cataclysm to start things off. That's going to be a great look for them, and you have a Headhunter as well.
Indeed, but they didn't connect very well right now. The kills are going slow from Knessa. On the other side, instead, Strix doing pretty much all of the damage, and those kills are getting through easy for Pickled Peppers. Nobody's contesting the point, of course. They just need to get those kills. They're focusing each and every time onto getting as much kills as possible. Of course, roaming their ROM onto the backline, but he needs to be very aware. They still have Grover. They still have a lot of control, with Inara, with Zin and all the others. Of course, you also have Atlas, so you need to be really super aware. And of course, they just picked up that ROM, and yeah, it's going to be hard for them to just jump back on track.
Really can't make their way back as easily. They use the hyperdrive, but they don't find anything from it. They see that one of them was peeking out a little bit. They saw that Inara was there, but they don't find the knockoff they may have been looking for, and the knock-up as well. So that's one Torvald ultimate gone, and if anything, that's even more pressure that Snappin have created for themselves now that they don't have that quality assurance when they play around on the side by danger. But one of them being picked off, it just keeps going back and forth. No one's ever, it's been kill for kill, trade for trade. This set has been amazing so far.
Indeed, they're trading left and right, of course, but I think right now Pickled Pepper is going to be the one who actually takes the point, because Knessa was the only way to really, make a difference inside that team fight, and right now she's basically all bleed out. She's out of that fight. Rom and the others are focusing down hard and fast, and Knessa is trying to pull off those, those kills, but there's not really a flank to pick up those kills apart from Inara. So right now, as you can see, you have an Inara flank right there, taking those kills left and right. An amazing wall also coming up. My God, Snappin just going through the motion, taking those kills. And I think officially we can see that Inara is the best flank. Like, you cannot kill her.
Right, exactly. And that's what's interesting. If you would have told me when I saw this draft that Inara would have been the one that was flanking and Atlas was the one controlling the objective, I'm not too sure if I would have agreed with you. He's been on the point for a long time, but I mean, he sort of has the same, he doesn't have the same survivability as Inara, but he has a good amount, because it's hard to kill him because he can just reset his health. He's just placing dividers directly on point if anyone looks at him. Meanwhile, they have to deal with the Inara, which, like you said, best flank in A, right? Or best flank in the entire game, because you can't kill her. She's just being healed up the entire time. So with that being the case, they'll push with her, they'll push with Inara. She's eating a lot of damage, she's soaking up all that damage, forcing people to look at her because they can't ignore her. That small amount of damage that she does is going to add up at some point, and you have to be able to try and stop the Zen as well. They've been in control a lot of the time here, and we've been seeing them slowly take over, especially as Pickled Pepper started things off 2-0.
And there you go. Of course, the stave mark goes down, but the important thing is to actually kill out Rom, who is all backed up inside that corner behind those boxes. And once again, it's a little bit of a stalemate, because the main tanks are basically gone onto the Snappin side, but they're still trying. They're trying to push as much as they can. But yeah, it's going to be super hard. Like, this last stretch is a nightmare. Those boxes, like, you have no way of controlling a person behind them. And that person can still, contest and block the payload as much as they can and as much as they want. So it's a little bit of a nightmarish situation, and I think it's going to be the classic 3-on-3 onto Ice Mines at this point.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a feeling for that too as well, considering the fact that Snappin have not only been in control, but the fact that Pickle Pepper aren't taking this one lying down either. I feel like I've said that about both teams back and forth, considering the fact that I said that when Snappin tied it up 2-2, but now it looks like Pickle Pepper might even be able to tie this up 3-3, if anything, especially when you find such a good pick on Zen like that.
And they have so many other opportunities, but right now 10 seconds to spare is not going to be enough. Kinessa is trying to connect the dots and connect those snipes, but yeah, nothing will come of it, and they're just going to back up and, try not to give as many credits as possible. But yeah, another, 3-on-3 ice mines, but with the addition, as I said before, of so many good ultimates from Pickle Pepper. Like right now, you have Corvus ultimate, so it's a huge control, of DPS inside the point. If, they manage to actually get it. Onto the other side, you also have the possibility of Torvalds of pushing them far, far away and outside the map and get those environmental kills. So Rom also with the stun, like there's so much possibilities, there's so many resources at their disposal. I think they can make it.
Yeah, I feel like they'll be able to make it too, especially since they have, like you said, all 5 ultimates up and online for Pickle Pepper. Snappin have some pretty offensive ults as well, especially with how aggressive they like to play. But now that that resilience is up, maybe Woodnock's pressure may not mean as much. If he tries to start things off with the seismic crash, it might not be too well for them because they'll just recover almost instantly. They're starting things off with a barrage though, as well as an already early setback. There's nothing to really be gained here for the most part on either side, as everyone's just trying to plug damage into different people.
Indeed, they're trying to find that Kinessa, but that Kinessa won't be so easy to kill because right now she's pretty much super covered and tries to snipe across the map. Yeah, Victor is not having a really good time, or an easy time for that matter, trying to out-snipe a sniper. It comes down to Strix to actually take her out, but yeah, that's not gonna happen soon. And onto the other side, I think it's gonna be Rom, the one that actually goes for the kill, and they're trying over and over and over. No kills really are to be found right now. They're still contesting the point. It's going to be huge if they get her. And right now they're going to get a victor. And Kinessa is still alive. And Kinessa does a kill. And Kinessa's just pushing on and on and on.
It's hard for them to find sort of any ground on either team. Snappin have still been in control of the point this entire time. But Pickle Pepper,
there you
are
go,
the ones that are finding the damage. Here we go, Woodnock. Once again, the best flank in the game. You got the Inara. It's hard for her to make it past anyone else.
Indeed, you have the slow, you have so much potential, and I don't know how, but yeah, Pickle Pepper lost to this, and Snapper takes a well-deserved victory. Crazy game, down to the last second once again.
Yeah, and it was very, very unfortunate for Pickle Pepper because, like you said before, they started things off pretty well, pretty consistently, and then you have a situation where they weren't able to really manipulate it to their advantage. Snappin found out what they wanted to do, and they were able to deliver on it effectively. A lot of those mids went the way of Snappin purely based off of the fact that, like we said, you have Atlas that's pretty much standing on the point. Anybody looks at him, he puts out the divider. Anybody that wants to try and kill him, he gets low. He's going to rewind himself, make sure he has that health all the way up and back to full, if anything, or at least close enough to it. While you have Woodnock begging for attention on the side with Penguin. He's just pushing and pushing and pushing for all his pressure. Penguin is too. They have to look at him. Meanwhile, Atlas is easily taking control over the entire situation. 133k between both Skeppy and Emmett Payne. That's a lot of damage to be able to find yourself having. But Snappin, they were the ones that end up winning the entire thing, despite having less damage.
And once again, look at Bones' stats. I mean, he's the safest support out there. Like, he's super safe. Died once during all 4 matchups, and yeah, he was able to heal consistently. We saw Kinessa not die many and plenty of times. And I think, once again, like, the situation right here is that they did not have like a super flank going on. Or to the other side, yeah, we're jokingly say, yeah, Inara best flank, but Inara actually was flanking. It was very hard to deal with because they did not have a consistent way of putting out damage because they chose a Strix. So at this point, you have Victor super focused on Kinessa, and onto the other side, you have Strix that, he does damage. He's not getting kills though. And you don't have a very super effective way to use that bubble from Torvald. So I think they went for the same execution, but the picks, they had did not line up successfully.
Yeah,
And
and
I
with
think the
this
next map is going to be Bright Marsh. Oh, sorry.
Mm. No. You're completely fine. Bright Marsh is going to be a very, very prominent pick here. Very, very strong, if anything. And it's a map that we consistently find ourselves going to. Turns out I've turned into pixels, if anything. There I am. I don't know what ended up happening for a second. I was completely just out of the mix for a second. I had no idea what happened there for like a very brief amount of time. But Bright Marsh is a map we've seen pretty consistently. Same thing for Jaguar Falls as well. It has been time and time again that we've seen these close quarters map be picked in a lot of different areas in the back pocket of a lot of different people, and that's just been that has just been an entirely different sort of time for a lot of these different teams.
Indeed. The first ban that's going to come on is going to be Shaolin. That's, of course, pretty standard. He has so many possibilities to go in and out, of cover, so many buildings. I wonder which band gonna come up next, but I think, of course, yeah, Vivian. So Victor is gonna be available for Pickled Peppers. Snappin probably gonna ban once again Victor themselves, even though they pretty much beat him in a punch. Canessa, Pickled Peppers, they don't want to play against that Canessa right now because she's super strong. She was huge onto the last round. Torwald is gonna be a pretty specific ban right now from Snappin. That's gonna be pretty huge right there because of course right now you have so many possibilities. You have the Genos, there you go. You have, of course, Inara onto the other side. You still have Rom, you still have Terminus, you still have so many possibilities. And I think Inara Ash are so super free that you could create like a super good anchor right there, a super good on point tank. But what do you think about all of this fun? Corvus around?
Well, for so far, you've allowed both pocket picks to be open, but of course, that's just so that you can have one of the two, if that's what your plan is. And clearly, that's what both teams had in mind. You have the Genos on one side, on the side of Pickle Pepper. You have Snappin on the side of Corvus and Rom. Or well, Snappin have in their back pocket, I should say, excuse me, Corvus and Rom. So they have the survivability not only just based off of Rom alone, but they have it through Corvus as well. Plenty of healing being able to be manipulated and just dished out in its entirety thanks to Corvus. But Pickled Pepper, this might be the aggressive composition they want. We've seen Genos be picked before when they want to try and do triple DPS, and not even just specifically with them. We've seen it be picked a lot more frequently when they want, regardless of region, when somebody wants to be able to have triple DPS. So you have Strix in the back pocket as their only DPS right now, but Snappin, I think they're here for the long con. They have a lot more sustainability.
Indeed, and I know Pickle Peppers are going to try again with the Strix and Victor combination. That didn't work so well last round, but right now they have a solo tank on Terminus, who is, of course, two tanks in one as soon as you have the ultimate and the possibility of respawning, and it's going to be Grover onto the backside, so that's going to be pretty good for them. But I'm worried because, of course, onto the other side, you have Zin, who can basically delete Terminus as soon as he can and has ultimate. You still have Androxus, which is a huge pick on Bright Marsh, thanks to that verticality and the ability to splash damage inside the building with the ultimate. And of course, you got Rom onto the backline, you got Corvus, who's going to be just annoying as all hell. So I don't know, man. Like Pickle Pepper, they need to get those kills and they need to get them fast.
Yeah, I entirely agree with that. I mean, Snappin have, like I said, the sort of wait and bait play style is what I like to call that one, right? I mean, you have a situation where you can play as far back as you want to. You have plenty of sustainability on so many different people for Snappin alone and with their healer. And Pickle Pepper, they have to play aggressive. They have to do that. They have to go in. They have to force fights, and hopefully that will work out for them.
And we're ready for the next game. On to Bright Marsh, and let's do this, and let's see what's going to happen. Also, another thing that I'm really worried from Snappin, though, it's that they picked an Androxus into a Strix. So if the Strix finds him out, is able to snap him out of the sky more times than other, Androx is going to have a super, super bad time. But then, once again, comes down to skill level, to possibilities, openings, and how much pressure you can actually move with your team inside that point. But we're going to see. The first blood is going to be telling, and let's see what's going to happen.
And that's what's interesting here is that, of course, you have Stigma, like you were saying. He can play a little bit more aggressive, or really can't play more aggressive, is what you're saying, because of the fact they have that streaks. But I think the exact opposite. They have Woodknock being there. They have Penguin on the Zen. They have these characters that are good at going in, which means Stigma probably has an easier time creating a lot of those pressure plays and a lot of those picks that they might need him to perform on. With that being the case, of course, that means that they have plenty of aggression on their side as well, but even still, that Corvus is going to keep everybody alive. They still have to respect, on the side of Snappin', the fact that they have that damage amp through Chino. So it really comes down to whoever gets the first pick. Honestly, I think with this draft, that's going to be important. And just as I say that, there goes
Indeed. That's gonna be pretty good. But also, we saw a little bit before that Strix actually had the kill onto Inara, and just for a very close call, she didn't get killed. But yeah, he's basically bullying them out outside that window. And as you can see, the snipes are coming through. Nobody's daring to contest that Strix, and he takes another kill onto that Doxus. 93% to go. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much done, because right now the pressure is insane coming up from Pickled Peppers.
Yeah, it seems to be going pretty well for them. I mean, they even use the barrage directly
Wow.
to make sure that Inara gets bursted on point, right? They want control over this objective, and it feels like they're going to actually be able to get it. No one else can touch on the side of Snap, and of course, you're going to see them playing a little bit more by beach. They want to put a lot more pressure on these sidelines here. Legacy has this through time and space. He can force people out of these choke points. He can make sure that people are as uncomfortable as possible grouping up, especially on a draft that really has to take advantage of making sure that they aren't necessarily grouped up, but they have to play close together. They have to see what it is that they can do here, and they actually managed to turn everything on its head by finding those picks.
Indeed, they used everything though. Like, they really went down with those resources just to take those kills. And right now they're paying pretty well, because of course comes the double kill from the Androctus, and this is going to be a light reset right now. They just need to find the right spot. They just need to find the right kill onto the Androxus as they did before. Because the problem is you have Terminus as a solo tanker, but you have tons of damage at your disposal. You just need to find the right space, the right opening, and I think if they go onto the left side, they're going to be able to take it. Rom actually jumping in. There's no way to counter him. And he's going to go onto that backline against that Victor. But Victor, look at that damage. Look at that self-heal thanks to Corvus. It's going to be huge. And Rom is going to get punished.
Yeah, and they already lost not only the fight in the back. Woodknock was able to try and create some pressure for his team, but he wasn't able to win that. While that was happening, Pickled Pepper were still also pushed up and were able to find a kill directly on the Stigma. Terminus has been on this cart the entire time. Inara was able to make sure that they had the best that they possibly could. But in the long run of things, they weren't able to really submit themselves in terms of how everything has been going so far. You have Skeppy with a nice double kill already, and you have Emmett Payne being able to find one of his own. So that's been a pretty great look for them so far. And one thing it is I definitely would say, if anything, is that this has been pretty unstoppable for the boys in blue for the most part, because of the fact that this cart has steadily been rolling in time and time again. You have, through time and space, that Genos is going to hold on to. Legacy's probably going to keep his back. He's going to keep his ultimate in his back pocket, as Rom is there. He gets void gripped almost instantly and gets dealt with. He gets stunned, locked down, and they force out the whirlwind, which forces a lot from them in the long run of things. Seismic Crash gets tossed out, a 3-man stun. That's a huge payoff for them, as Legacy is going to find himself locking down multiple members, trying to void grip whoever it is that he can. But Inara is the one that locks down most of the team here. Contesting is the Inara as well. It's not only has she used that ultimate to try and make sure that things have been working for her, but she hasn't really been able to find much, as there has been a 1-for-1 trade so far. As things are sort of getting back into the mix here, Emmett Payne finds himself with a nice double kill. Fiel finds one, and as things are sort of timing down, you have overtime being a factor, and Pickled Pepper actually rolled this one right on in. That was due to a lot of the percentages, a lot of the pressure, a lot of the control that Pickled Pepper were able to have. They were winning a lot of these fights on the side. Sure, you had the Inara that was there. She was trying to contest. She gets a beautiful seismic crash, a beautiful 3-man stun. You can imagine it now, or even really just watch it, painting a beautiful picture of how that ultimate went. But then it all pretty much goes to crap immediately after that, because of the fact that she has to deal with the damage that she's absorbing a lot of the time. If you want to look at Victor's loadout as well, you have a lot of these sort of things that are going to keep him alive, keep him a little bit more aggressive as well. And that's what it's going to come down to towards the tail end of that fight.
I just died and went into another dimension, so I don't know. I'm having the same problems, Fawn. Doesn't matter if Italy, Europe, or US. Today is not a good day for internet. But we're back again, and with it 2-0 on Pickled Peppers. So I guess their pushes went a little bit successful because those, those kill streaks are ginormous right now. Like everything is going well for them. And right now, Snappin taking a little bit of a kill with Zin. That's going to be important, but not enough to actually bully them out of that point. And we saw so many plays, coming out from Victor. Rom, then again, having a full-on counter from the enemy team, is still able to actually go onto the backline and do some damage, but I don't think that's enough.
Yeah, that's going to be the case either, as Woodknock has really created a lot of pressure on the side, but he has to back up the minute that they all group up on the side of Pickled Pepper. He forfeits a lot of space to him, meaning that, of course, that's going to be a situation where he can't really make any of it work, but he tries to use a seismic crash to get the stun. They force the engagement there, but they use it through time and space to counter out the stun that is available for seismic crash. They find the damage, but they don't find the kills. Those would all be going to Snap.
Indeed, and I don't know about this, through time and space. Of course, they needed to do that, but he was so much out in the open, he got shut down pretty easily after that. So, once again, in Bright Marsh, you have the high ground. Like, it's a super high ground. You have the possibility to just knife down the enemy team as soon as they reach spawn. But onto the other side is also super short as a map, so it's pretty easy to, do a couple of kills and just terminate and complete the push. So they need to keep them at bay. They need to keep them at bay fast. And I think that's just what's gonna happen. Rom is getting a little bit blocked right now. It's not gonna be a huge focus on him right now. Pickled Pepper's getting a bunch of kills thanks to Terminus and the others. And yeah, they need to reset and respawn right now, snapping, because it was not a fun time to witness.
A little bit of an overextension on the side of Snappin', as they did obviously capture the point, but they weren't able to hold on to it for very long, as things were all coming around to potentially push past that halfway point or round about that corner. Snappin' weren't able to find what they needed here, because there is still only a minute remaining. Penguin has the spike. Maybe he could try and force something a little bit through the Terminus. They have the res, though. They don't want to waste it where they could end up saving it here, but the Accursed Arm is what they're going to use this time around. They chunked so many, but they don't find any kills. Scratch that. They're going to find them in pain.
Just one on Victor. A second one right now is a 4 combo with that Inara on that Groover, and he unlocked plenty of time for them. There's still a little bit of a chance, because 5 seconds are bound to come off pretty fast and pretty easily. So there's one last desperate defense. But yeah, they need to set it up pretty good, because Terminus is going to be the only body on point, and he's going to get shut down pretty easily. He's going to respawn, actually. That's going to be huge, because they did not expect that. And taking kills, though, so the push is going to be successful. It's going to be a 2-on-2, but without a Terminus. So right now, your single tank is way worse than ever, because he does not have the ability to respawn, pop back up, and contest that point.
You're 100% right, Merlo. I mean, that's something that you need, especially if you're trying to play retake here. And also, I want to highlight a little bit of the fact that Victor is doing leaps and bounds above everyone in terms of damage. That is an astronomical lead for Emmett Payne to be having. 138,000 when the second highest is 68K. That is unprecedented. I can't really say unprecedented. I shouldn't say that, honestly. I should just say the fact that it is absolutely shocking to see that, because that is a huge discrepancy. That means that Emmett Payne is not only providing a lot of the damage for his team, not just through the barrage, but it also makes it a lot more scary. It means they have to stop Emmett Payne from doing as much free firing as he is.
Indeed, and right now we're going to see what's going to happen, because of course they do not have the resources to actually pull it off, but the kills are coming with the for time and space. And on to the other side, Terminus actually, thanks to Strix, took another kill onto the Inara, so scratch that, as you said before. They need to do everything back up again. because everything just changed, and that's another kill onto the Andraxis. The timer will go down, and they're barely able to survive this onslaught of damage coming from Pickled Peppers. Right now, Rom getting stopped in his tracks, and onto the other side, Zin completely alone and completely shut down. Inara tries with a snipe with a little bit of a CC right there. Grover pushing him through. Rom, though, onto the other side, getting smashed in. And yeah, they're gonna be a little bit of a contesting from Inara, but Victor, my god, just so much damage. So much uncontested damage.
Yeah, Emmett Payne, I mean, not only does he find himself with a nice little double kill, but the rest of Pickled Pepper are able to find their way into a lot of these fights as well. I mean, they were able to weave damage in and out. Strix, of course, is popping heads where he can see him, and if that's not the case, you have Victor sort of make things a little bit more even for him. But Genos boosted Victor is huge, just like that Cataclysm that cleans up two members.
Yeah, that was a huge kill box right there. The setup was there, the buildings were there. He said, all right, I'm gonna do that. Let's bounce. And they just did, and now that was a huge advantage for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what you want to see from a ROM ultimate. That's one of the best Cataclysms you can get. The only thing better would have been if he got in a 5-man, right? Or a 4-man, or his whole team stuck in that corner right there. But this is such an aggressive zone from Snap. And look at how much space they have made. They are in their spawn off of one single kill. Off of one kill. They have made this much space available to themselves. Skeppy is the only one that breaks the trend here of Snap and piling up the bodies one after the other.
And nobody's able to contest this on Droxus right now because he had so much free space. He used it. Of course, that verticality comes into play. He was able to jump onto that enemy respawn and just take everybody out. The Grover just fell down. And right now, Grover actually popped his ultimate. Like, I see something going on from Pickled Peppers. Like, they're using ultimates in, defenses and pushes, and they're not really keeping them for those extended fights, onto the last match point. I think that's gonna be a problem in the future, because right now they're just trading kills, trading blows, but the payload is not really progressing at all.
No, it hasn't been. They've been pretty much stuck on the zone for the entire time. 35 seconds is all that is left for Pickled Pepper to see if they can get this one in, if anything. And they have a long task ahead of them. They've already played up by apartments. Zin's already gone down, so they're able to at least have a lot of pressure here and there. Once again, Woodknock is doing the same thing he's been doing the entire game, running into the back line, finding this pressure, finding the kills, and forcing them away from how everything has been going. The minute they get the kills, the harder they're able to get these zones. We just saw it happen. They were stuck in spawn this entire time. With them being able to kill all these people, you have another 3-3. This set has been a banger recently. I mean, this has been great, honestly.
Indeed, my God, really hold the phone. That Inara right now, just flanking and pushing and giving it all, basically reset the whole situation. But right now, as we said before, Pickled Peppers, they use lots of ultimates. They were able to recharge. That being said, they don't have the possibility of using a Grover ultimate right now. They still have the Terminus respawn though, and they still have the Victor. So that's plenty of space right there, plenty of damage to use. Also in combination with Through Time and Space. But what do you think? Are they really going to be able to pull those kills off and use those ultimates? Or are they going to get shut down pretty easily?
I feel like it depends entirely on how this first mid goes. And what I mean by that is how apartments goes on the side. Here, we know that Rom likes to play over there. And if he's able to actually get these ultimates off into the back line, that'd be great. But it's just he's biding his time for now. It depends on when he goes in. They plug so much damage in Androxus, and the fact that Stigma went down, that's not going to be great for them. That's not even going to be the best case scenario for them. They force out the Terminus ultimate, but in the long run, Inara ends up getting caught out.
Indeed, they forced that. Also, Zin was in super critical danger. Onto the other side, they also took Inara. I think that's pretty much over right now. Pretty much set, unless Androxus takes a couple of kills.
Yeah,
this is gonna pretty much set it up and stomp him out and just create so much space.
Right now, a Cataclysm is going to get used. He manages to catch one, but that's not going to be all she wrote for right now. Stigma is there. is able to at least apply a little bit of pressure. Woodknight's going to have to back off. He already took a lot of damage. He used the Cataclysm, but he didn't find the kill, just like we were saying beforehand. They plugged a lot into people. The Cataclysm didn't find his marks, only found one. So now he has to bide his time, wait for another opportunity. Even still, while this has been happening, the percentage is gaining in favor of Snappin'. They've been in control at this point pretty much the entire time. Right
I think
now,
Androxus. Oh, sorry. I think Androxus has the possibility to turn it around. He just used the ultimate. Inara took another kill onto the Terminus. They do not have the possibility of respawning. That's another kill from Androxus.
Okay.
That's the reflect, and that's another one. As I said before, they had the possibility. Victor tries to do a double snipe with the ultimate, but Snappin', they just took the win.
They were just trying to contest as best as they could. I mean, they use the barrage, they pump out a lot of the damage onto those different targets. They managed to find the hits, but in the long run, they weren't able to get the kills that cemented them that point fight, that cemented them those kills. And in the end of the day, didn't even cement them in the game. So that's going to be a great look for them. 105,000 damage on Stigma, 146,000 damage on Skeppy as well. This is a lot of control overall as to how things have been going. With that being the case, it makes it a lot more prominent for anything. 232,000 damage at the end of the day. That has been crazy. 232,000 damage at the back of the Genos. What type of damage is that? I mean, Gormizer said it a while ago, and I'm always going to keep coming back to this. Victor is a character that does top damage by accident, and I think that is a perfect way of describing how that just went. With a Genos buff at his back, that is beyond crazy. 19-7 for the end of the slash line is what that's going to be for the Victor.
Indeed, as you said before, that's accidental damage, but it's also because he has so many possibilities to just splash it out. Of course, you have the burst mode, you're going to find some heads, you're going to pop those heads off and tons of damage. But when you have the ultimate, you take those kills, and it's pretty easy because it's 2 hits. So you can take a normal support and 3 for a tick, basically. But I think we're going to go into a little bit of a break. So don't go anywhere. Don't panic. We're going to be there. We're going to see another couple of matches, I think. So stay there. And we're back again with you. It's me, your boy Merlo, with me, the older boy, the legend, Fawn, right here doing chair 2, giving all the, the bits and bits and information and tiny bits, all
yeah,
that
man.
knowledge flowing, coursing through him, helping me out. Because right now, these games are hard to cast, but not for the reason that you think. They're super close. You really don't know, which side is going to get it. We know that Pickled Pepper right now is on top of the chart, on top of the food chain. They are kings. They've been dominating the season. But right now, against quote-unquote third place, they're struggling. They're implementing a good fight. They're implementing good picks, but they're still having problems. They really need to pull through and get those wins.
Yeah, and I think that's what's important to take away from this is the fact that this is first seed versus third seed. And now we're gonna head to what I believe is the map it is that everybody likes to call like Dust 2, if anything. It's the standard map for Paladins. It's one everybody loves to go back to. It's Stonekeep.
I thought it was Bright Marsh. Kresnik is lying to me. He said something, Dust 2, what Bright Marsh, or Jaguar Falls. One of those two. I don't know. He's in production though, so he cannot really respond to my hate. So that's fine.
Merlo, I'm actually hot on the stream right now. I can unmute myself. We can do battle if we have to.
It's like it's dust, it's not dust. Potatoes, tomatoes. Same thing. The first ban is gonna be Shaolin. As we know, Stonekeep super vertical sometimes. You wanna roll snipers, you can roll snipers. And I think they're gonna do that because right now we saw so many times that Strix rolled and we saw that Knessa, coming through in Ice Mines. So I think there's a possibility right there.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, you have to get rid of the Vivian, you get rid of Shaolin, you get rid of Knessa. You don't want Stigma to have that Knessa. We've seen snipers we play on this map. There are a lot of wide angles to hold, albeit the map being wide, there's still a lot of cover. It's hard to find those sight lines, but when you do, those snipers really pick apart a team very effectively. And a Torvald ban on Snap It, I forgot what year we were in. I thought it was 2019 for a second because I haven't seen Torvald in that ban column in a long time. But there he is. He's made it there. And you leave open Genos and you leave open the Corvus.
Indeed. And onto the other side, you also leave Victor available. They're going to go for a ROM, that safe comfort pick that been using time and time again. But yeah, that Torvald, it's a full-on respect ban that they also did before. They don't want to play against the bubble. They don't want to see it, flankers just ziplining through onto your backline and just getting all those kills without being contested, basically. But the picks that now I see from Pickled Pepper, they're way more standard than usual. They're gonna roll Janus with Inara, so Inara is basically mortal. Okay,
Right.
the patch is gonna come. We saw that, but right now she's super strong. And of course, they're gonna roll a sniper, Strix times and times again. I think it's gonna work way better right now. But what's gonna happen with Terminus and Victor? I must say.
So you have the Terminus, so that's a sight line that Strix sort of has to fire into. Wherever Terminus is going to be, that Siphon's going to be there. So he can't really focus that point tank as effectively as he may want to. And with that being the case, that of course means that he's going to be going toe-to-toe with the Nara a lot of the time. He's going to be the one that's controlling a lot of these objectives. So you have to be a little bit careful about the Terminus. I'm more so worried about the Victor because of the fact that you actually have this sort of backline presence. Sure, you have the damage to be able to sort of manipulate that, but you also have Strix on the other side on Pickled Pepper, which means that he's going to have a hard time trying to fight into that Strix. Sure, he might have an easier time fighting Lex when he's diving into their backline, but in the long run, Victor's going to have, I think, a little bit of a harder time trying to fight into that Strix, into that Grover, because Grover's going to be where Strix is. He's not going to try and push up anywhere too far, and Lex is going to try and push all the way into the back line. So it's going to be the final pick for Snappin'. That's a beautiful point tank shred, if anything. That's definitely to stop that Inara. I mean, they're running double kill on the side of Pickled Pepper, so it can really go either way. I like both drafts here for both teams.
Indeed, and we're ready to jump into Stonekeep right now. We saw Lex onto the match before, and he was basically uncontested. Huge damage, huge presence, huge pressure, but he also had a Torvald on his side. Right now, he's just has, and I'm saying quote-unquote, just has a Genos, So I might think it's gonna be a little different than usual, but you still have tons of damage. You still have healing at your disposal. You can still self heal. Like you have so many tools to actually go and contest one-on-one against that Victor, and I'm very curious to see what's gonna happen.
3,
Yeah, I am too. Especially with how this matchup versus this Victor and Strix is going to be. Granted, if the Zen and if the ROM provide enough pressure, it won't have to be a Victor versus Strix matchup. It could just be really ROM and Zen versus the world. If anything, they find that opening damage on the Stigma. But I like how Pickled Pepper are playing this. They're playing by church, and everyone's playing by church. No one's trying to contest the higher ground. Why? Because they want to be able to peel back for their team. They have a Grover on their side. They have double healer. They want to play passive. They don't want to play aggressive unless they know they can full send like Lex wants to do right here. Since Pain is about to dive in the back.
He has the right shot. He has a clear-cut aim right now. He's going to take the kill. It's going to be a little bit of a trade, but right now Lex is firing all cylinders, trying to get as many kills as possible. He's going to go for the second one because Corvus is completely alone out in the open. They're pushing them back strongly, and right now Pickled Pepper is going to take the point pretty easily.
Yeah, they are going to gain control over this Victor very, very simply. Emmett Payne in the back. Sure, Victor was able to get that kill before he ended up dying off, but Lex gets that trade directly onto Victor almost instantly. It forces Victor out of the position. It forces him to move away from his level of comfort. He's not just sitting in that back line anymore, and because of a situation like that, you have to pretty much find if you can get the pick, which Victor did, and then just end up dying like he did. So they were able to cement themselves by the fact that they didn't have that backline presence. Zen had already died, Rom had already been looked at, and this is already another situation that might be bad for Snapping.
Indeed, you need to stay back. You need to stay inside the building. Otherwise, you're going to get shot from the Strix onto the other side. And we see time and time again that Victor had so many problems right now. Here comes the shot from Lex. Here comes another one. That's going to be pretty clean for them. And of course, on Stonekeep, you want to keep pushing as hard as you can. And they just did that. And Lex is basically unstoppable. Right now, ultimate is going to be used, but he's still and kicking. Not anymore.
They are going to be able to at least find one, though. I thought that Grover heal was actually going to be enough to keep him alive and allow Emmett to win that trade. I thought he was going to die purely based off of the spite, but that turns out not to be the case. Minute 30 still remaining, and the reason why I point that out is because of the fact that they've gained so much space over this short amount of time, and it's stuff like that that makes it hard for them to cement this. It's stuff like that that makes it hard for them to try and even fight back. When you have time and time again, you try and get a zone going, you push up, but it's disjointed. Everyone's not pushing up at the same time. That's why Zen went down first. That's why they now are able to regain control of the situation that Pickled Pepper have, and they're able to make sure that they don't lose any ground in the long run, and through time and space finds their healer.
Wow, they're just committing everything. They want to capitalize on this singular push. They want to go 2-0, clean and easy, and they're actually going to do that. Terminus right now in a little bit of a pickle, of course, onto the other side, trying to contest and block that payload, but it's 48 seconds, and Strix has the high ground. He has the control of the entire respawn, so they're pretty really backed up. They cannot go out. There's a curfew for them, and they're not able to actually escape. And it was a super clean push with little to no effort.
It's really not the best look for Pickled Pepper, not Pickled Pepper, excuse me, Snapping right now, as they really haven't been able to find much, if not all of their capabilities here. It's been really, really rough for them in the long run. They really haven't been able to find the picks that they've needed. A lot of that pressure from the Lex has been a little bit too much. We saw Emmett Payne pop up on it before when they played on Jaguar Falls. We saw him get that Quadra, and Discovery plays a huge role into that. Considering the fact that he can swap targets, granted not by choice, but he can still swap targets and make sure he can burst those individuals that might be able to pose a problem, might even be able to burst the tank. So it's hard to trade into him 1-for-1. I want to see how Snap is sort of adapt here. Maybe they want to play a little bit more aggressive. Maybe they want to play a little bit more back, if anything, to see if they can force anyone.
They definitely need to flip the script right now. Like, they need to do something different. And they're pretty much doing the same thing. Victor has the same exact position as last time. He's going to get pretty easily picked off by Strix if he's not careful enough. And as you can see, those shots are coming through for him. They're able to see him and try to snipe him out as much as they can, but it's gonna be 53% for Pepper's situation is not so clear because kills are not coming through right now. There's a trade-in for Lex right now, getting that ROM onto the back line, onto the other side. Janus trying to escape, is still alive, but he's super backed off the corner, and he's gonna get killed soon after.
And they have comeback mechanic as well available for snapping, so they're going to be able to submit this payload pretty soon, honestly. I mean, Reincarnate was back there. It didn't seem like he was doing much. Sure, he found damage here and there. Strix was plugging in so many shots into him, but that Corvus pocket, for those of you that were like really paying attention, that was huge. That extra lifesteal that not only you get from Corvus, but also just the Corvus pocket was so much because he was able to kill Legacy. It actually forced the Strix to back off and look at another target. He couldn't help him. He was being healed far too much. And I don't know if that's going to continue to be the case because of the fact that they end up losing one almost instantly.
Apart from Lex, though, they don't really have any tools to get out and scoop that Corvus on from the back line. I think they're going to try to play it more safely because right now the combination between Janus and Strix is going pretty well. Janus basically picks them up with Void Grip, you know, and onto the other side you have Strix just shooting down onto a still target, and they're pretty able to pick heads. But right now, I don't know what's happening on that Inara. She tried to wall herself off from the fight, but she was, you know, picked off pretty easily. She's not contesting very much and having a little bit of a problem actually touching the payload from time to time. So right now they have a pretty clear shot, a pretty clear push. I don't know if they need to actually engage with a couple of ultimates as they did before, but they definitely should.
Yeah, they're putting damage into Woodknock pretty, not Woodknock, excuse me. I'm so used to seeing him play on the ROM at this point. I automatically assumed it was Woodknock, but Reincarnated is the one on the ROM this time around, obviously, as he's going to get picked off. I mean, it was good for them to be able to have that push. They were able to submit themselves a lot of great positioning, but at the end of the day, Reincarnated pushed out a little bit too far. It just ends up getting picked off. He had a lot of damage on the way in, so by the time he used that Soul Harvest, see if he could bring things back in, use Juggernaut to see if he can give himself some DR. It was a little bit too late. He had already eaten too much damage at that point and ends up getting picked off on the way for them to be to the cart, trying to see if they can roll it in, and it just doesn't end up working out that way.
Indeed, right now, picking up back again, there's a little bit of a slow push coming up from Snappin'. I don't know why, but oh, that was the kill. That's the stretch. That's it. That's done. Janus is out, so they don't have any way to heal themselves. They still have Grover, though, but it's not going to be enough. Onto the other side, Lex actually taking those kills. Ooh, getting shut down by Zin. They're just trading blows left and right, but right now the situation seems to be in Snap's control. But Pickled Peppers, they're trying to defend as much as possible. Inara, literally immortal. She's not dying. She's not dying. Incredible. And she's holding on to that point, getting that overtime, doing those plays. She still has the possibility of a stun. And she's immortal. It's incredible. They need to do something about that. She's super strong right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can really do in that scenario because who's gonna get over that wall? Is it gonna be the Victor with no verticality? Is it gonna be the Zen also with no verticality? I mean, there's nothing they can really do in that scenario. You know, sure, she boxed herself into a corner, but that corner was all you needed. Why? Because both Genos and Grover, surprise, can heal through walls. That's all it literally is. So it makes it a lot more prominent for those heals to come through in situations like that, where all you need is just to hold on. Pickled Pepper were in their spawn. They had defender's advantage. They were the ones in control for most of that match. And because of that being the case, they were able to allow themselves for Nara to box herself in, heal up, and Skeppy was just picking off heads one after the next. If he didn't get the kill, he found the damage, and that's all they needed.
Indeed. Right now, once again, they're going to try to go from church. I don't know if that was optimal until now, but Zin tries to find a kill, gets shut down pretty easily because, of course, you have no way to contrast and convert that damage into a kill if there's no follow-up. And, of course, Grover was there. You know, the pocket was pretty successful right there. Lex just poured raging damage down onto Rom's throat. Yeah, it's gonna be hard because right now 87% and Snappin' didn't really have a chance to play. Optimal stun right there. Pretty good. Terminus is gonna respawn. They're gonna get backed up. Comeback mechanics are going strong, working overtime, and I don't know why, but that was a full sweep reversal from Snappin'.
Yeah, that was a very, very good reversal. Even better, Cataclysm. Sure, they had the 3 times space to be able to utilize it to find that pick, and Vine grips directly on the point. My goodness. A fight that looked like could have been for Snap and just turns out to be the other way around. Doesn't seem like they're going to even be able to make it back to card. That's going to be all she wrote for the most part, as Pickled Pepper are going to find themselves tied at a 2-2 on Stonekeep.
Wow, like these matches are incredible. Very well balanced. Once again, I sound like beginning to sound like a broken record because we say, "Oh, they're so well balanced. It's incredible. I've never seen something like this." But it really is. Given the fact that Pickled Peppers most times don't understand, they're just stomping through, the entire season with little to no problems. Right now, struggling to just, get onto that 2-2. It's very impressive, to be honest, from to the Snapping side. And let's go a little bit of stats, of course. What are you thinking about that Strix damage?
Well, yeah, but I'm also looking at the Inara damage. Doing more than her Lex
True.
is, which is not something that we typically often see. 75k for her. And granted, Lex isn't that far behind. I mean, he's only 1,000 behind her. But Stigma, once again, topping the charts. If anything, Skeppy is going to be the one topping the charts overall in the game. Stigma being the one, of course, that did the most damage on his team, but Pickled Pepper take this one from under the rug and tie things up to a 2-2. 11-3 already for Skeppy. I mean, that's a great slash line. Both him 11-3, 11-4. Both him and Emmett Payne were just having a very clinical performance. Sure, they may have died now and again, but they were finding the damage they needed, and it paid off in the long run.
Indeed. We're just gonna witness the last map. It's gonna be match point, and right now we need to, give out our caster curse. Who do you think is gonna win between Pickled Pepper and Snappin'? You gotta say it.
Okay. Well, if I have to say it, then I mean, I will have to say, based off of statistics alone, I'm going to bring in a little bit of the logistics. I mean, Pickled Pepper aren't at the top for no reason, so they are the ones destined to take this match based off of stats, if anything. And it's going to be interesting to see this, especially when you go to a map like Frog Isle, which I haven't seen that in a while. I don't think.
Indeed. And of course, we usually see Bazaar, Shattered Desert, stuff like that for the final map. Frog Island, a little bit of like Jaguar Falls is one of those, legacy standard maps. But the fact that until now we saw so many snipers going in and out, especially onto Pickled Pepper's side with that Strix, I think that's going to be like his playground right now. He's going to have a long map, very open map. You just need a couple of walls to, hug and recover if you need, to ever go into that backline. And Pickled Pepper, incredibly, they're banning 2 snipers, so they don't want to play them and they don't want to play against them. So pretty significant right now.
Yeah, I've seen both of these snipers be picked time and time again on this map, especially since there's a lot of sniper duels that happen on this map. So if you want to pretty much toss it to the wayside there, just go ahead and put them in the ban column. Don't want to deal with either of those long range, high damaging DPS. And that's where they're going to find themselves in the ban column. But once again, you leave Terminus open, you leave Rom, you leave Ruckus, you leave both of the pocket healers open, you leave a lot to interpretation here. But one thing that I don't think I even need to interpretate is that if they have Genos, Pickled Pepper aren't going to give them the Corvus. They're probably going to lock it in.
Let's see what's going to happen. And as you said before, Ruckus, but we saw that Ruckus is a little bit more of an EU pick. Like they run it a little bit more, even as a ban, because they don't want to fight against them. Ruckus, if given the space and the marks, is able to basically bring down 2 people with him as soon as he goes down, into that enemy backline. Pickled Pepper right now going, for those straight up picks, very standard. Inara, Victor, of course. But Snapping, now they need to set the mood. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, with Terminus and Rom, they're doing the same picks, so it's not really a mood changer. Probably the last 2 are going to be what defines the team. If they're going to roll, full flankers, if they want to do, a classic DPS style. But what about Pickled Peppers? What do you expect right now?
Well, for right now, I mean, considering the fact that Corvus hasn't been locked in on the side of Snappin', Leon was not one of those characters I was quite expecting to see on the side of Pickled Pepper. And Grover's actually going to be locked in here. Corvus is free yet again. what is the plan here? I mean, they have Frog Isle, sure, they have the Grover. The Whirlwind's going to be huge. It means that if they dive into the back line, he's going to use that to try and counter out the engagement that Snap and have available to them. But even still, I mean, they're letting Corvus free. Do Snap and lock it in here? Do they feel confident enough for the double support? And the answer is no, which makes sense to me. But in the long run, is he going to go last picked here? Are they going to try and go for an off take on the side of Pickled Pepper? I personally believe that I could see some sort of value in having the Corvus here as well. It's a lot of damage that they have to burn through. Sure, Shaolin does 1,000 damage per shot, make that 1450 if anything, but it's going to be Khan if anything. Wow.
Khan makes sense, of course, because you want to have that free kill if it goes down, into the
Right.
last match point. But also, he has, CC, control. You can basically pick up Zin if he goes a little bit too far into that backline, because, of course, you got Inara. So Inara is going to be safe as an anchor point tank. And Rom, of course, you have plenty of reason to stop him. So with Grover, you have those deep roots, but also then comes the follow-up with Khan. They also have enough DPS to sustain themselves because, of course, you have Lian, from long and medium range or short and long range, apparently, and Victor with the burst damage. We're ready to go into that Frog Island and see what's going to happen, what's going to pop. But yeah, I really don't know what's going to happen with Khan and Lian onto the same side.
I'm a little bit more so concerned about the fact that, sure, you have legacy on the Khan, and not only do you have legacy on the Khan, but you have that sort of ability to stop Rom from running through everybody. You have the ability to stop him from really doing much of anything. And it's it makes sense to be able to have that. You want to be able to have that Rom counter one of them along with the cripple. But in the long run of things, I mean, I feel like it's going to be hard for him to play into a Zin. Who can spite through his shield. It's going to be hard to play into a Shaolin that's Gen exclusive that's going to break his shield consistently. And if you don't mind for a second, President, can we see the items just a little bit, just real quick, just for a moment here? They actually didn't start off the record. They don't feel like it's going to be that much of a problem for them. And Pickled Pepper, they start things off with the first blood.
Indeed, and they're continuing to do that sustained damage. They have huge control of that map. Of course, firing from both sides thanks to those DPS, thanks to Victor mostly. And yeah, they took those kills. They're going to take the point, and there's no way this Shaolin is able to actually counteract that Inara. So it all comes down to the defense and how much they're willing to put onto that line. Right now, Terminus actually going in full on swinging instead of the Rom, but Terminus is going to get shut down pretty easily. The overtime is still going on. Inara is the one who gets killed right now, thanks to the help of Ron and Shaolin. Onto the other side, Shaolin still doing a lot of damage and a lot of kills, and Liane, she's the one who's basically falling through.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure. I mean, Liane is great, but you have to play, sure. No, I don't think any amount of auto-aim is going to help you in the situation where you have to deal with Zin and Rom. I don't think that pretty much follows through on your side of the map or anything like that. Beautiful shot by Stigma as well on the Shaolin. They're finding the damage, they're finding the kills. All they needed to do was find that opportunity, and by God, they found it, because they're finding plenty of damage into so many different people. Beautiful body block as well by Stigma. My goodness, man. Very well played by Snappin'.
Indeed, there's no time to recover. They just have a Khan, but he does not have the footing to actually get onto that point. Zin actually doing a lot of damage, but Shaolin, the real protagonist, the real deal right now. MVP all the way through, because basically he took those opportunities created by Rom itself and just ran with it. It just took those kills, even airborne. He's such a good player right now. But let's see what's going to happen onto the defense from Pickled Pepper, because right now they still got ultimates. They still have, the long-range option, apart from, of course, this Rom that just gets into them, and that's a double kill coming on. Mamma mia! That was incredible for them. What a sick combination.
Beautiful through time and space by Genos. I mean, you don't get any better than that. Finding one through time and space is already hard enough. Finding one that ends up with two of them being dead, that's easy money, baby. I mean, especially when you're playing the Genos like that and playing it so consistently and well enough to where you can line up these shots. A minute and 35 seconds still remaining as the card is already halfway. I mean, they have to find some sort of way to put a stop to this aggression. Snappin' have been snowballing, and they've been snowballing pretty hard. It's been a difficult time for them to even push through into different sort of areas. This is the first time that really Pickle Pepper have put a stop to this aggression that they've been able to deliver.
Indeed, and also, as we saw before, that through time and space was perfectly set up by ROM itself. They just need a reset right now, but yeah, they pushed through, they gained a lot of terrain. They just need to get a little bit of a kill right there onto that Inara completely alone by herself. She's walled off, but they have the possibility to snipe her across the map. That's not gonna happen. Rom onto the back line right now. Ooh, takes the Shaolin, another kill. And there's the second one. The DPS line is completely destroyed onto Pickle Pepper's side. Yeah, Terminus still has the respawn. Khan is trying to do as much as possible, but when you have a guy, 2 feet tall, just wailing on you over and over and over with a free respawn, you are not able to do anything at all. And I don't think Lian is going to survive right now. And there you go, Inara goes down. Relentless push.
Yeah, absolutely relentless. I don't think there's really anything they could have done in that scenario. They've been snowballing extremely hard. And it's been kind of crazy to see them continuously snowball again and again and again and not take their foot off the gas. Only stopping when they had to play Gray Screen Simulator a few times, right? Only stopping when they had to deal with the respawns. They had to make sure they actually put a lot of pressure on them time and time again. But Pickle Pepper haven't been able to find their footing. They haven't really been able to stop them as effectively as they may have liked to. And that's showing. That's being extremely prominent right now, purely based off of the fact that they're able to not only push forward, but make sure that they are able to hold their ground. That's the most important part of any zone. Sure, you can push forward, but can you hold your ground well enough?
Indeed. Let's go now for the second straw. It's going to be hard for Pickled Peppers to pick up, but they still have the tools and they still have the means. Remember, that first point was played very correctly. Right now, we just saw Zin saving himself with an ultimate from a Khan when he sniped him through. So that was a crazy mad play for him. And yeah, they're just sniping, getting kills. Victor, yes, is able to trade Terminus, but what cost basically your entire team is being dominated from to the other side. And yeah, snapping. Doing a pretty good job, pretty clean so far.
I agree with that as well. I mean, they've had about an even percentage for the most part. While Pickle Pepper have been doing the best they can to maintain control of the situation. This is a beautiful overpower. Let's see if they can try and turn the tides here, and it seemed like it might be enough. They found 2 members dead on the side.
Yep, 3 members right now.
Yeah, that's going to be a third. Might even be a fourth.
Indeed, I don't think there's going to be a respawn because, of course, you don't want to waste a resource like that. Comeback mechanic coming through. So right now, they still have a point. Let's see if they're successful to actually take the bait and take that win. I think so, but then again, this Zin has been insane so far, thanks to that Shaolin also and the ROM combination.
Through time and space available to him. Will Bones be able to find through time and space that we've seen him do so prominently before? The possibility is there, unless you get the kills earlier on like you're doing right now. They've been playing so effectively right now on the side of Snap and really making sure that Pickle Pepper have to fight for their first standing spot. Of course, they don't lose their first place spot but if Snap do end up winning this one. But even still, it means that NA has become a very heavily contested region. They have to find some sort of way to fight back against this pressure right now. Finding an early pick on Zin might do the trick, but finding a kill on Terminus might be even better.
Actually, if they're going to lose this one, I think it's even better because it's like a wake-up call. They're not undefeated. They're not undisputed or uncontested. Gods can bleed, and so do they. But yeah, we'll see if that's ever going to happen because right now teams seems to be pretty balanced so far, so good. But yeah, right now taking kills left and right. There's not really anything going on apart from the payload just rolling in slowly but consistently. And yeah, they're just trading kills right now, left and right, steadily declining onto the Pickle Pepper side. Because yeah, they're finding all those good kills, but they need to do the last straw. They really need to use some resources right now. Yeah, Inara still onto the point. 45 seconds to go. I don't think Snapping is going to be able because the wall is going to block Ram right now. It's going to gain a lot of tempo for his team. Inara, great wall, great shielding, great capabilities right there. Ram is going to go and fall soon after. And I think that's going to be a complete successful push from Pickle Pepper.
There was just too many people looking at him. Sure, he was able to contest. Sure, Terminus was there, but Woodnock didn't want to use his resurrection, which goes without saying. Very well played by him, having the patience to hold on to that ultimate, not using it, giving up the rounds if necessary, and it allows them to have a lot more rounds, or ultimates, excuse me, in the back pocket potentially for snapping, as they already see that they have 4 ultimates up and 3 up on the side of Pickled Pepper. I mean, in a situation like that, you can't really do much if you're Woodnock, or if you're reincarnated, because you're going to have a lot of people looking down at you, barreling at you if anything. Stigma's not going to use Heat Haze to try and contest the objective. So with that being the case, it's up to the 2 frontliners to see if they can live long enough for that to matter. And it wasn't in this scenario, but they were able to save onto their ultimates, and hopefully they'll be able to make more use of them effectively this game.
Indeed. Let's see what's gonna happen. Once again, Rom running through the backline, trying to, reposition himself. It's gonna be enough because Terminus right now is gonna die outside the point. The respawn is gonna come through. Is that gonna be enough though? Because he has the left side. He is able to control pretty much Khan and the others, but Khan just threw him away like hot garbage, and Victor takes a double kill.
And I think that's the most telling situation that we've seen so far of how this has been going. They found the kills, but Terminus is all the way into the back line. Sure, he's able to res, but the rest of his team isn't with him. Why? Because they're dying to Pickled Pepper. They're taking a lot of damage from Pickled Pepper. They're losing a lot of ground to Pickled Pepper. And you have a situation where he reses, but no one's able to capitalize. So what does that mean? That means that Khan tosses him away, just like you were saying beforehand, and everyone ignores him. Everyone else focuses on everybody but him, and then when they need to look at him, they'll worry about it, because Terminus isn't going to do that much damage to you when you're not feeding into a siphon, right? He's not going to gain a lot of those charges. You're going to have to worry about a lot of other things if you're that Terminus.
I mean, he's annoying, but he's great for setup, but right now he's not really pulling through. He's not really getting those kills onto the backline because nobody's able to follow him up, even though you have a Zen at your side. So right now, those kills are coming through, but yeah, it's very strange, because as soon as we say something negative about a particular team, they basically pick it back up and do an amazing, team fight, or they get a couple of kills. So right now, very inconsistent from both sides. Right? Look at this Leon right now, just taking 3 kills out of nowhere. Triple kill out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, this is the type of performance that you've seen on Leon every now and again. And the reason why I even say every now and again is not because the players that aren't picking Leon aren't doing well. It's more so just the fact the players that are picking Leon or would pick Leon aren't picking him because they're just better picks at this point in time. Both snipers are gone. Sure, Vivian's gone as well. Okay, great. So now you have those hit scans that you have to look at. Victor's one of the only ones, and Leon's one of the only ones that's remaining that you can try and go for, and it's evidently working out for him very well, just like that through time and space they managed to find.
Indeed, checks out right now. We saw Rom completely contested right there. Of course, Shaolin is going to be the next one, thanks to Genos, and of course, Lian following him through. They don't have many options, and right now, of course, Inara has the ultimate, has the setup. Onto the other side, Zin is going to get picked off pretty easily. They see him near the tree. Everybody's turning heads right now. Another kill thanks to Khan. Onto the other side, he just basically got out of map, but I think Rom just saved the whole push right now by himself. Yeah. Strange hell game right here.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else they can really do on the push here. They have to pretty much just contest this one, hope for the next round, because it is the last one. We've pretty much gone to the 5th point every single round, really. I mean, it's been the last one on every single time. And it's been a very, very bad time for both teams every now and again, because it's gotten down to this. It's like, okay, we can win this, we can submit this. And now here we are, 2-2. We're on match 5. We're at the very, very last point, last game, last point. This is where it matters. Who will be the one that ends up taking it? For right now, I mean, they've been winning a lot of their mid fights on the side of Pickled Pepper. But Snap'd have something there. It's a matter of how they harness it. It's hard for me to put it into words.
Yeah.
But if anything, they have the capability to be able to take back a lot of these fights. They have the presence to be able to find that damage, but they need to use it more effectively. This spite, depending on who it picks off, could be huge.
I mean, right now, Snappin really deserves the win. They've been playing flawlessly and trying to, snipe them back and forth.
Oh,
But
really?
Victor is going to say otherwise because he takes the first kill against Sin, and there's going to be a huge debuff. Every single kill right now is going to matter. And let's see what's going to happen from Shaolin. They're going to try to find a couple of snipes right now. Grover jumping in with his ultimate. Everybody gets healed. Everybody gets a heal right now. Leon takes another one against the Terminus. Terminus does not find nothing in this particular situation, trying to absorb it, trying to keep them at bay. Oh, the stun is gonna fail. They're playing so inconsistently right now, and that's gonna be bad for them. It's gonna be huge, of course, for the other team. Shaolin takes another kill. They're starting to control the point. I don't know what's happening, but everybody's inconsistent right now. Pickled Peppers, they're gonna try to go onto the right side, but they don't have enough healing. Oh, Victor just dodges for a hair. A faint hair there through time and space. They're gonna jump in. They're gonna jump fast. Rom tries to body block Inara already onto the point. She's trying to get the wall up. Of course, as you can see, Shaolin still tries to jump and snipe onto the other side. One gets yeeted off the map. Inara's gonna stand alone by herself. There's gonna be a triple kill right now coming in from Shaolin. It's gonna be incredible, but he's so alone by himself. He's not able to contest this Victor. And I think right now, Pickled Peppers basically to the control of the full situation.
That was extremely scary, and I think they might even be able to touch. Zin was actually able to touch. How were they able to live for so long with so many low health pools here? And now Rom's in the back line. They killed one, but what does that mean for everyone else? You already have a situation where now you have to look at Inara. You can't ignore. Reincarnated goes down too, and you have an enlightenment. When the smoke clears, what is going to be remaining here? You have so many opportunities, and Pickled Pepper are going to keep themselves in line here. My goodness, I don't know what happened. I was scared because while you were casting that whole time, I'm like, wait, they were alive that entire time. They had low health pools, but nobody submitted the kill. They got to 96 when they were on the tail end of losing that fight. How were they able to cement that? And when they had that lead, they ended up losing it because they lost their ROM so early, and Reincarnated going down meant that they had already had a damper on the point tank. That is so unfortunate for them, man. I mean, that was so unlucky.
My God, Reincarnated was able to touch and give that extra time. And of course, you also had Dinara completely by herself, Bones picked her up. They had the possibility to actually kill her, but the damage didn't come through. Like, everybody was onto the line. They needed to play perfectly, but Reincarnated actually missed that stun with the ultimate, and all the others also did a couple of misplays. Really came down to the wire, and of course Pickled Pepper pulled through. But Snappin', I have a newfound respect for them. They are incredible right now.
Oh yeah, that roster change, Penguin being there, definitely meant a lot to them. What's more important? What's more important here is the fact that even though he missed that Cataclysm, they still won the tail end of that fight, although they did not win the game. Pickled Pepper are going to be the winners of this one. We can go straight to the standings, the North American standings, and see how everything has shaped up once again. Flashpoint did end up forfeiting their match, so now they are 1-7 with a -17 map differential, 2-6 for Team Project, -10, -2 for Yeezy PogChamp. Love that name still. Keep it up, guys, with the naming conventions, that's for sure. Snappin' are going to be 4-4, meaning that they now are at 2. Pickled Pepper still at the top seed, undefeated in terms of set wins. But at the same time, Snappin' definitely gave them a run for their money. This might be a team to look out for, whether you're the top seeded team or if you're anyone else. This was a very, very powerful set to watch.
And if they keep up the pace like that, I think they have a clear shot for the first place, if not at least second. Because right now, they really gave everything they got. And it was so incredible. Couple of misplays here and there, but that's normal. At the end of the day, what matters is they have pretty good composition, pretty good picks. Their meta strat, and of course, their pick and phase and draft phase is solid. So that's everything you need to really pull through those maps. But I think we are out of time, my man. We're going to see each other, I think, in the near future. I don't know when, I don't know how, but we're going to do another cast together. 3 p.m. tomorrow, of course. It's going to be me and Kresnik. It's going to be fun there.
That me? I'm here.
Okay, it's going to be tomorrow. Awesome. That's me not reading messages, That's me. That's on me. That's all my fault. But yeah, fun. Any last thoughts?
No, I mean, those were some very, very great sets today, honestly. I mean, I was glad to be able to watch all of them. I mean, it's good to be back and back into the saddle, if anything, after my little short hiatus, if anything. But if anything, I definitely am very, very glad to see the matches that will be available to us tomorrow. Once again, tune in at 3 p.m. Eastern if you guys are going to be able to make sure that you can watch that. If not, that's completely okay. We'll have some more Paladins action for you, of course, on Monday with the Paladins Central cast as well. But the PPC tomorrow, please be sure to tune into it.